You are listening to Thinner Peace and Menopause and Beyond. This is Dr. Deb Butler, and this is episode number 406. Welcome to Thinner Peace and Menopause and Beyond. This is Dr. Deb Butler, Master Life and Weight Coach, and as always, your coach. If you're a woman and you're smart and you're successful and you've been struggling with weight your whole life, and now menopause is making it harder than ever, and you are ready to make this the last time you ever have to go on a diet again, then this podcast is for you. Stay tuned. Well, hello, all my dear friends all over the world. It's a cold, cold day here in St. Louis, Missouri, but I'm doing okay, and I'm still going to go out and walk in it because I love cold weather. At least that's what I like to think, because if I have the right clothes on, if you heard my last podcast, it's all about the clothes. As long as I have the right clothes on, I can go out in any kind of weather and feel so amazing when I'm done. So I look forward to it. Now, today, I want to talk to you about an email that I got from one of my past clients. Her name is Angela, and she wrote me a letter. We had worked together maybe 3 years ago, and she sent me just a beautiful letter of where she's at right now. And I liked it so much that, number one, I want to read it to you because I think it's inspirational. I don't want to just give kudos to myself, but what I want is for it to give you hope that if Angela can do it, you can do it too, because we are all so much more alike than we are different. And I think you'll relate to a lot of what she says. And I'll tell you what, I loved her letter so much that I actually got back with her and asked her if she would come back on my podcast, because she actually was a guest on my podcast 3 years ago when we finished the program. She was inspirational then, and she's even more so now. So I really am excited to introduce you to her again 3 years after her first podcast, and may she be an inspiration to you too. But before you listen to the interview, I want to read you the letter that she wrote so you know where she's coming from when you hear this interview. This is what she wrote. Hi, Dr. Deb. I worked with you a few years back. I want to let you know that what you taught me, the one-on-one coaching, was priceless. I loved and cherished our time together. You made a lasting impression on me. Since working with you, I've changed nursing specialties. I went into oncology nursing from hospice nursing. I wanted to shift my focus on teaching patients how to live well instead of how to die. I share the phrase with my newly diagnosed breast cancer patients, me first, out of love. And I just want to intervene here that was her compelling reason. Me first, out of love. You'll hear a lot more out of it, but I just wanted you to know that. She goes on to say, also, I'm putting myself first with so much love and care. I'm in a new, beautiful home. I've amped up my personal relationships to be more aligned with my values and contributions. I've let go of so much, so many thoughts and behaviors that did not serve me. I've also continued my weight loss journey. I weigh about 156 to 157, and my goal was 160 pounds. I also want to thank you for doing what you do in supporting women and creating such a thoughtful and effective approach to living our best lives. When I see your post on Instagram, I smile. In the past 5 years, working with you was one of the greatest joys I've experienced. From a personal development perspective, I believe you have made the biggest impact. It all begins with putting myself first out of love. With so much love and gratitude, Angela. Y'all, I gotta tell you, when I read this letter, it warms my heart and brings tears to my eyes that I've had this kind of impact on her and that it continues. Talk about paying it forward, because the more she gets out of it, the more she passes it on to other people. And the more, like she said, putting herself first has let her be even more available to others. And she'll say more about that in the interview. So what I want you to do right now is just sit back, take a drive, take a walk, or if you're anything like me, take an Epsom salt bath. But enjoy the interview with Angela, and I'll get back on in the end and say a few words. Enjoy. Hi, Angela. Welcome back to my podcast.
Hi, Dr. Deb. It's so great to see you. It's like having tea with an old friend.
Oh, and
So gorgeous.
I love your cup, and I love to think, I like to say that to myself as a practice, and I like to teach it as a practice. And is that how you see yourself now?
I do. I absolutely do. It's something I'm really mindful about how I speak with myself and when I get off track, because I had 50 years of not, or 45 years. I don't know. It's been a few years since we worked together.
Yeah.
I'm 50 now. I think maybe I was about 47. And I think it's just going to be practice. What is it? Progress, not perfection, over the course of my life. So instead of getting angry at myself, it's, oh, Angela, let's just find a better way. But it's getting easier and easier. It's becoming part of my everyday. And I recognize it in other people. I recognize it with my patients, with the people that I love the most. And it's really interesting to be able to share that with them. Just the small little things that we tell to ourselves make the biggest difference in our lives.
How you talk to yourself and the thoughts that you think about yourself that you say to yourself on an ongoing basis makes a very big difference, right?
Yeah.
So with saying that, what I want everybody to know as they're listening to us is that you and I worked together probably something like about 3 years ago, I think. And it was a beautiful experience for me. I loved every minute of working with you because I know how much work that you did, and I know how many walls you came up across that you went through. And that is delightful in itself as a coach to be able to watch somebody. Well, I wear my butterfly earrings because I always think of transformation, to watch you transform, which I did see you do 3 years ago. But after that, I let my butterflies go and I hope for the best for them. And of course, I did for you and assumed everything would be wonderful. But there is nothing like getting another letter, which you sent me on Instagram 3 years later, telling me who you are, which I knew instantly who you were. But to tell me about how well you're doing is, this is what this podcast is about. Is I think everybody who listens to this podcast has an idea that there are a lot of people that I work with that have transformations. But I think it's really important to know. And who's your friend that's with us?
This is Rocky. He's my old boy. We might hear him throughout, and we might hear my other dogs throughout. So I'm going to let him down now.
Okay.
He's getting a little antsy.
Okay. And if he wants to come back up, he can. But anyway, what I want to talk about today is before and after. So first, I think just to bring everybody up to speed as to where you were when we first started talking and where you are now, I'll kind of lead you through it. But if you can remember where you were mentally and physically 3 years ago when we made the decision to work together and you decided to hire me as a coach, where were you? What was your experience like with yourself, with food, with relationships overall?
So with regard to myself, well, I did not put myself first. I'm a giver, a naturally giver. I was taught that. I believe I was taught that, or that was my belief. And it's what we do. That's how we connect in this world. And I didn't understand the boundaries around that.
Of how to put yourself first.
I did not understand how to put myself first and associate that as actually being really good for the rest of everyone around me, not just myself. When we put ourselves first, it's the best thing to do for the world around us because we can give so much more.
You say that with ease now.
Yes.
And that is not what we're talking about. That is exactly you were not there
Yeah.
at the time, is I think you believed the opposite, is that
Oh,
you had to give and give and give and wear yourself out, and
yeah.
that other people were more important than you.
Yeah. I remember our conversations about time and the work that I did back then
Yeah.
and the relationships that I had and just the simple reframes on it, the discussions that we had and the aha moments. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, the only thing that I have to change here is my attitude and the way I think about this. And then I can change my language and that's it. That's all I have to do. That's where it starts. That's where it begins. I know I'm oversimplifying this, and this has been a 3 year, well, many, many year, but this has been a 3 year, and
Yes.
it's every day.
Hmm.
It's an everyday progression, growth, development, and it's
Hmm.
investment. I'm investing every moment in myself, and it just feels very good. Food, I think that weight challenge was a symptom of how I was feeling about myself and how I was putting myself last. Holidays are a good time for us to kind of check in because more food comes into the
Yes.
office, more food comes into the home. And I'm really regimented about what I eat.
You mean you're regimented how you eat now?
I'm regimented how I eat now, as far as I listen to my body. I eat really, really healthy foods. If I eat one meal a day, I don't judge it. I don't say, gosh, I'm supposed to eat 3 meals a day.
Hmm.
Well, I don't think I've had 3 meals a day in a while. That was something that you and I had recognized while we were working together. I had recognized through just listening to my body.
You mean like
And
listening to your body, like when it's time to eat, when it's time to stop, as
exactly.
opposed to the clock?
Exactly. I'd never even occurred to me to think about, hunger and when it was just, okay, clock out at 11:30 because I clocked in at 7:30, let's eat. I don't do that anymore. If I eat at, 11:30 or if I eat at 2 o'clock as my first meal and if I eat at 2 o'clock, sometimes I don't eat for the rest of the day. It's
Because you're
just
not hungry.
because I'm not hungry. It's a
Mhm.
moving target. And my body is just this beautiful machine that just tells me what it needs. And it's quite intuitive. And when the holidays come around, there are those treats. My mom's peanut butter fudge, that's a treat for me.
Uh-huh. What'd you do about that? How did you handle that?
That was something that I had 1 to 2 pieces of after my last meal every day. And I did it for about 5 days. And then I gifted the rest away because I didn't need it anymore. I figure I'll get it next year when my mom
I
makes it.
love that. And how did you feel like, for instance, when we first started working together, how do you think you would have handled that?
I remember I was lying down in bed this morning thinking about our interview and
Yeah.
thinking about some of the feelings that I had associated with food that have sort of been removed. I haven't associated these feelings. Obsession about when my next piece of fudge would be. That's not a thought for me. That's not a feeling for me. Fudge is fudge. And the way I feel and who I am it's different from what food does for me and what food represents for me.
So before, what would you have done with that peanut butter fudge? How would you have handled it? How would it have been different? Like now you said you really enjoyed it for 4 or 5 days and
Yeah.
then you were through with it. And it just doesn't sound very dramatic. It sounds like they
No.
taste good. It sounds
Mhm.
like you wanted to enjoy them. But
Yeah.
how would that have been different?
Well, I definitely wouldn't have gifted it and shared it and seen the
Uh-huh.
joy in other people's faces.
Uh-huh. Would you have felt good about eating it or would you have felt
No.
bad about eating it and eat it
I I definitely would have felt bad about it. I would have felt bad emotionally and physically. I wouldn't have felt good physically. My stomach would feel full and emotionally it would feel like, well, why am I eating this? I would
like you
question.
would feel kind of guilty
Yeah.
or uh-huh.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now when you eat it,
It's a joy food. It's a joy. This is blissful. This is heaven. This is a
yes.
nice little piece of heaven that I can enjoy that my mom just created for me because she knows that I love and my children love peanut
Yeah.
butter fudge at Christmas. And she only makes it at Christmas. And it's a gift. And so I enjoyed every little bite of it.
It sounds like it was easy to say goodbye to it too.
Very easy.
Yes. And I
Yeah.
think that's very, very important that
Yes.
when we talk about a joy eat, and this is 3 years later,
Mhm.
so it sounds to me like you do joy eats almost like it comes, this is your natural thing that you do now. It doesn't sound like it
Yes.
takes a lot out of you. In the beginning, it was probably much more of a practice when you were joy eating, would you say?
Yeah, I had some challenges where after working with you, I had gone up a little bit and then I thought, oh, I got to work on this. And over time, over 3 years' time, it was losing this weight very, very slowly and
Hmm.
through a process of mindfulness and
Hmm.
listening to my body. It wasn't, the extreme physical activity, it wasn't extreme
Yeah.
dieting. It was true mindfulness, true listening to my body, moving my body. I do activity that's aligned with what my body wants, like what my body responds to Pilates, yoga. I love to hike. I love to be out in nature, those types of things. Nothing extreme.
Well, just the way that you say it, because I think the way that I teach it is that the reason that we move our body is because it feels good to move it. It's
Yes.
enjoyable. It's heaven. Just like eating peanut butter fudge, when you eat it, it's like heaven. It tastes delicious. You don't want to do it all the time, but when you
Yeah.
do it, you're mindful and you really enjoy it.
Yeah.
And a hike or Pilates or anything can also make you feel so much better emotionally. It's like heaven too. Yes?
Right. And that's not to say when you're in Pilates class with your instructor and
Yes.
you're doing like a 1 minute challenge when you're holding a pose and you're really struggling, but you know that you can dig down deep. You're digging down deep. And then after that minute, you think, "Ah, my body, it did that." And you get excited. And so
Uh-huh, you do.
I still feel excited when I do challenge my body, and it's a beautiful thing. I don't know if that makes sense to you,
It makes
but
total sense.
yeah.
And I think that what we're talking about here too is the whole idea of joy comes from all kinds of places. But if we just move our bodies because we think we're going to lose weight or even look better, I think the real reason that we move our bodies the way we were wired is because it feels better
Yeah.
emotionally. And even when we're in the midst of doing something that's difficult in the middle of moving our bodies, the way that we think about it is what gets us through it.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, probably when you're doing something that's challenging, you probably have done it enough to know that you're going to feel wonderful when this thing is over and even better about yourself, which gets you through that moment.
Yes.
Which kind of brings me to the idea of urges and the idea of sometimes when your primitive brain will go, oh, that looks so good, I want it. But you know that either it's not going to make you feel good or it's not the right time to eat it. How do you talk to yourself and how do you handle those unintentional urges?
It is a discussion. It truly is.
Yeah, what is that discussion?
I- is this serving my greater good? So, with regard to food, it really is, how is this going to make me feel the next day? How is this going to make
Oh,
me feel after? And I've never drank alcohol to an excess,
mhm,
but it impacted me in a manner in which if I had maybe two drinks instead of a half of a
mhm,
glass of wine, I noticed that I was maybe just a little bit more lethargic the next day and my body didn't move quite the right way. The same thing with excessive sugar. If I take a lot of sugar in the form of complex carbohydrates or just cakes and cookies. So I just question myself, is it worth it? Is it worth my body feeling that way the next day? And I take that moment. I
yeah,
truly take that moment And before, I didn't even think. Like, I remember not even thinking about it. It was just hand to mouth. And I didn't even realize that I had a choice to, oh, it was just my way of coping.
Maybe you were using it more for emotional reasons than really for the flavor or the taste or anything
Yeah.
like that. It was really probably to fulfill emotion, and you were
Yes.
not aware enough of that at the
Yes. Yeah.
time like you are now.
Yeah. It's really interesting that I can taste food a lot more. I enjoy it a
Interesting.
lot more now.
Yeah. More than you did before, but before you thought that you loved to eat.
Yeah. And I wouldn't even call myself that term foodie.
Hmm.
I wouldn't call myself a foodie. I'm not a person that is particularly picky about anything. There aren't too many foods that I don't like. I enjoy going out to dinner with friends,
Yep.
family, but I enjoy the experience more than I enjoy the actual food.
Is that more the way it is now? And before, was it more maybe about the food and what you were going to eat? And are you eating too much? And should I eat this? More thinking about the food and less about the people?
Yeah, now it's more about the
I
experience.
love
It's,
that.
oh, let's just go wherever you want to go. I'm fine with wherever you want to go. I don't have an attachment to pizza or pasta or surf and turf. I just want to go out with friends and family. That's my goal, when I'm going out to eat and socializing with friends at home and in my work when I make food for myself. It's very strategic. I almost always make my own lunch and almost always eat that lunch at work and make sure that I have things that are very fueling and satisfying. And I have enough in case I work.
You think
Yeah.
about your whole day and what you
Yeah.
might need to fuel yourself,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is a beautiful thing. And what do you think you're thinking that makes you do all those beautiful things, like prepare your lunch every day, make sure you have extra, to be strategic about the meals that you're cooking? Because this is really what everybody wants. They want to go to that action line and do the things that you're talking about.
I think about how I used to prepare my kids' meals. And I should do this. I used to write them notes sometimes. I love
Um,
you. Have a great day. But I love myself. I want to take care of myself.
I am getting chills.
And shoot, maybe I need to write myself a note next time I prepare a beautiful meal. But that's what I think about. I think about the fact that I really care about the body that I live in, and I'm so appreciative who I am as a person, what I bring to this world. I believe I bring value. And I believe that food fuels me. The right food fuels me and it helps me give more. Just
Okay.
like,
I got to stop you just for a minute, because the way that you talk, you've always talked with this very caring, warm, beautiful voice. But the things that come out now seem to be more aligned with that voice. As before, I mean, I just want everyone to know you did not start out like this. How you sound now and what you're thinking has been a process. And maybe where we should go just quickly with that is when we talk about a compelling reason about why you want to do this work that we started with in the beginning, because you're talking a lot about putting yourself first and how important you are and how you value yourself now. And you weren't there
yeah,
3 years ago. And when we really talked about why do you want to do this work? Why do you want to lose weight? And not just so that you can fit into your clothes and all that. We go through the whole that stuff first to why really is this important for you? And your compelling reason, which I'm going to let you talk, I want you to talk about your compelling reason because I use it with other clients too.
mm,
So, talk about how you came to your compelling reason, because that's what's fueling this conversation now. It's just you've never stopped thinking it. I can
yeah.
tell.
I say it all the time, and I say it with patients, my kids, my friends.
What
Yeah,
do
the
you
people
say?
in my life. I say me first out of love.
Yeah.
It's me first out of love. And I remember the conversation. I remember the session you and I had.
Mhm.
It was a really, really tough session. And I thought I was doing really well. And I think I was. I think I have been developing over time, but
Absolutely.
you're really good at what you do.
Thank you.
You're really good at who you are and what you do and what you bring to all of us who seek out your expertise, Dr. Deb. You
Yeah.
stop. You stop when we have our limiting talks and beliefs. And I remember that discussion. And I remember when that compelling reason it was created during that discussion. And I've never forgotten that. I think every day. I think it's an everyday. It has to be. I don't think there's been one day that I haven't remembered that phrase or that I haven't said that to myself. I definitely have practiced it.
Yes. And this is the thing is that is a thought, right? A compelling reason is a thought that you think and you
Yeah.
use it in the beginning during challenging times, right? And for you, I think when we started working, your husband had passed away, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't remember what the time span was.
It was about 2 years.
Yeah.
It was a
Yeah.
traumatic passing. It was suicide. He died by suicide.
And that was brought to the table too,
Mhm.
is I think you had done the work on the grief before you came to me, which I think was pretty smart. But it seems like where to put yourself and how to manage you being your priority after going through all of that and still believing that life is worth living, that you're worth taking care of. Me watching that transformation for you, because I think when you go through something like that, you either use food more or you learn to deal with the emotions that are dealing with the food. Like, I think when you came to me, that's what you were ready to do because I think you had dealt enough as much as anyone can. And I think it's just important to state that. I mean, you came with some pain.
A lot of pain. A lot of pain. I remember that pain. And it was also a time in my life, I've always valued, I have friendships of older women
Yeah.
that are my best friends. And I've always looked at them as the most beautiful women in the world. My
Mhm.
mom is one of the most beautiful, she is the most beautiful woman in the world. And so I've always valued aging in a way. And so those menopausal symptoms and the fact that I felt like my body was not, it just was not as easy. It was that symptom again about I need to get back with my body and I definitely need help with my my mind, that connection. And we did a lot of work with that too. You helped me with diet and nutrition and helping me with what will serve my body at this time with regard to just that it was the perfect time. It was the perfect storm, I believe. And I felt like I was ready to sort of stretch out of hospice
As a nurse.
as a nurse. I loved the home that I was living in. It was very comfortable. It was very safe, but it was the home that John died in. And it was a decision after working with you. And it wasn't an overnight decision. I decided it over a year after we worked together. But it helped me, these decisions for growth. You helped me make these really important decisions in my life that have taken me to places that I wouldn't have imagined before working with you.
When you say that, I just want everybody to hear that it seems like when you hire me, it's all about the food. And yet, when you're telling me after, it's almost like has nothing to do with the food. I mean, it's like when you're saying, well, I did things that I needed to do or that I
Yeah.
wanted to do. But it seems
Yeah.
like as you did the work with me with the food, and it brought up other things that could help free you. I'm putting words in your mouth, but this is how I see it as you became more free in your own mind and how your perception of
Yes.
yourself in your life changed. You also like in these 3 years, you have changed a lot of things in your life due to just figuring out, why do I eat when I'm not hungry?
Exactly. So basically, this is the way I see it. I sort of came into integrity with myself.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. And the way I feel about
Mhm.
myself, my higher self. I feel like that's my growth in this world. I'm seeking my higher self every day.
Yeah.
That's where I'm going. And
I love that.
and I'm in integrity with that.
I love that.
And my interpersonal relationships, that's what I'm seeking. I'm seeking that integrity and the home that I choose. And I felt like that was no longer serving me because I'm still seeking a partner. I'm very serious about it. That's something that I'm working towards this year. That's an intention of mine. I'll share my progress with you
I have
uh,
no doubt.
when that happens.
I have no doubt.
I knew that it would be a challenge for me to live in that home, to move forward in a relationship. And living in nature, I'm living closer to nature. I'm looking at all the trees and the birds.
I love it. So
So,
I think what rings really true to me is that the work that we do, which is really about listening to you telling me what you're thinking, and for me to tell you what you're thinking, and then ask
yeah,
you, do you want to think this? To put it as simply as possible.
yes.
And once you could really believe your compelling reason, me first, out of love, it
Hmm.
seems like everything just grew from that. That's why it's so important. It's not like, yes, so I can fit into my clothes, but
Right.
it's like, I want to think that I'm that important
Hmm.
and that I deserve the very best in life. And then for you, as I saw it when I was working with you and certainly see it now, is that as you started thinking that way and pointing in that direction, you started changing, like the house. I mean, your body has changed. I mean, how much weight have you ended up losing from the time that we started till now? I mean, I have no idea. And I
Uh,
know it's not the important part, but
it's,
it's an interesting part.
yeah, I'm at a healthy weight. Let's see. I want to say it's been at least 30 pounds, maybe more. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
love the way you talk about it because you'd lost some when we were working together. And this is just like for a lot of people. We only
Hmm.
work together so long, but once you have the tools and you understand the process, you're a
Yeah.
living example of what you do with that. The weight still comes off over time, the relationships keep changing. You changed your career. Basically, you went from one kind of nursing to another kind of nursing based on changing the way that you think about what you want out of your life and how important you are to yourself. It's like giving your best friend everything they want. That's how I see you now, as you being your best friend and going, sweetheart, what do you want? Because you can have it. And I
Yeah.
think that you did that, Angela. And
I
I think
did.
you're a stunning example. I'm going to say the thinner piece process that I use. And I'm also going to say a stunning example of how much you wanted this for yourself. That runs true. And that when I first start working with people, you just have to want it really, really bad,
Yeah.
and you did. And I just want to say thank you for thinking of yourself in that way and for doing the work with me and going deep. And the only thing left that I would ask you is, what would you say to somebody who's listening to this who might have been in your position? Something very challenging had happened, because usually when people call me, something really challenged has
Yeah.
happened and they're back to eating. That's usually how it goes. I'm eating because I'm stressed. So, what would you say?
I would say you 100% are worth it. You are worth every amount of your time, your energy, your love, your money, your investment in yourself, and your dedication to yourself. This is not easy work, also, because there is resistance. We didn't talk a lot about that. We didn't talk about getting in the weeds while we were working together. There was resistance. You do have to really want it, you have to have that motivation. And I believe that that's when us ladies at this age, when we come into our own, we're a force and we want these things. And I really believe that, just getting over that resistance and part of that struggle, I think, helps us with our growth too.
Help you.
Yeah, it seals it in. It definitely helps. So it's kind of like that Pilates pose that you're just kind of breathing through. But yeah, definitely you're worth it. That's what I would say. You are absolutely worth it. You are loved and you are love. You're a representation of that. And if any part of you feels like you are not, you probably need Dr. Deb in your life.
I love that. And for you, what you said, which I think it really warmed my heart, you said that this was one of the best things that has happened to you, that coaching with me and doing this
Yeah.
process is one
Yeah.
of the best things that's happened to you in quite a long time. I don't know how many
Yes.
years, but you said a long time.
Yes. I've worked with therapy, I've done meditation, I've done all kinds of other things and modalities and things that could help me, reading books. But I think the action and the prescriptive approach, the action plan, the affirmations, the compelling reason, all of that, it had such a profound impact. It absolutely changed the direction, the course of my life. Absolutely did.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm so glad you're still doing what you're doing. Like, are you going to be doing this forever?
Yeah. Why not? I mean, this is what I love doing right now.
Yeah.
And I don't have any reason to stop. There's no
Yeah.
reason why I don't want to do it. And if there
Yeah.
was, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
But I think it just keeps transforming. Like, I think when we
Yeah.
work together compared to how I'm working now has transformed already. I
Mhm.
think I keep transforming, and everybody I work with helps
Yeah.
me understand better about what you need.
Yeah. And I asked that question in that way because it was 3 years ago, but it also feels like a lot longer. Like it feels, I don't know, these last 3 years. I don't know if it's because I just do so much more every day, like in the day.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know if I just hold value in my day so much more. I don't know what it is. It feels like it's been a long time since we've worked together. And I feel like when I reached out to you, I thought, I just got to tell her thank you. I have to say thank you. Because I've been seeing you, I've been, listening to a podcast here and there. And I think, gosh, I
Thank
just
you.
got to say thanks. I got to say
Mhm.
thank you for all you do.
Well, well received. Well received. It was a good thing to do. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Angela. Thank you for coming back and sharing your wisdom with us. And I remember that I loved every minute of working with you, and I love every minute of talking with you now. And may you be an inspiration to anyone that's listening to this. Thank you for being here.
Oh, love you, Dr. Deb. You are amazing. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Well, that was my second interview with Angela. And wasn't she inspiring? She does have this way of the way she talks that is quite loving, I think. And she's always been like that. But I think she's always had that loving attitude and she's used it for others, but she hasn't used it as much for herself, at least in the beginning 3 years ago, as now. That love that you hear in her voice, I know, and you could hear her tell you that she gives it to herself first, like she is her own best friend or one of her children, which is what I talk to you about all the time. Treat yourself as your most beloved. And Angela has done just that. And the life that she's created in these last 3 years from using my thinner peace process on what she puts in her mouth has changed everything. And that's what I want to offer to you too first, is that no matter where you are in this game of food, your life and your enjoyment, when you can learn more about why you eat when you're not hungry, it can open up the door to the rest of your life. And like Angela and I talked about, it's not about the food. And yet we use food a lot. So if you're in a challenging mode, like Angela was when she first came to see me, her husband had passed away a couple years ago, and she was working through it. And she was using food to work through it until we started working together. If that's you and you're using food and you don't want to be, maybe this is a perfect time for you to work with me. If this sounds like something you might be interested in doing, if you're ready to invest in yourself as if you are your most beloved, then please go to drdebbutler.com/work with me, and you can set up a mini session where you and I can talk and I can tell you if I think the thinner piece process would work for you too. So just go to drdebbutler.com/work with me, and we can actually work together. And as always, I would never end this podcast without saying to you, and Angela couldn't have said it better herself, no matter where you go or who you're with, please, please, please be very, very kind to yourself, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye. If you're loving my podcast and you would like some more information to be able to follow along with, then please go to drdebbutler.com/change, and you can get a free copy of my companion book that goes with this podcast that I refer to in many different episodes. That is drdebbutler.com/change, CHANGE.